Welcome everybody. Welcome to the council. To all the people, the others, this place today, everything's going right in this meeting. There's no arguments or anything like that. No abuse or anything. Anybody that talks will be silent, listen to what will be talking. Okay? Let's pray to the Creator, our four directions, our Creator, our heaven, the one who up. God, God's never everything was figured with it. Kimi was not there, so auto. We want to go to the piano, no, Kimi was. Thank you.
Test.
Grant, are we live streaming now?
Okay.
Bonjour Anishinabe, even Makwa, Indigenous Cosmoquan. There's a bit of an echo, but that's okay. We'll do the best we can with the technology that we have. I want to thank all of you who have taken the time this afternoon on this Sunday to come out and to talk about cows and plows. And now what? Now what? It's going to be a very interesting conversation that we have, and we want it to be at all times in this process as transparent and accountable as we can be with the decisions we make, because the decisions we're making now are going to impact our future generations of our young people. And to start off our conversation this afternoon, I think that it's important that myself as well as the council provide you with our best understanding of what's happening. And it's okay for us to, before I say anything, it's okay for us to disagree on what this all means. It's okay for us to leave here and not have all the answers. Because together as a community, we can find these answers as the days turn into the weeks, into the months, and the years ahead. We don't pretend here to have all the answers, but we've done the very best we could with the time that we've had to make the decisions and to carry this process to where it's at today. I wanted to start by saying that this claim started a long time ago. It didn't just start last year or 5 years ago or 6 years ago. This claim started in the 80s. You see, we had a council member, his name was Marvin McKay, the late Marvin McKay. He started writing to Canada after 1985, and he said, "You're creating all of these new Indians," called them Bill C-31. What are we going to do to provide for the services of all these new band members that you're creating, Canada? And what about the Duck Bay people and the Duck Bay Reserve? What about that? And we've got all those letters on record. Eventually, what that led into was the creation of a land claim. That land claim dealt with the unlawful surrender of Duck Bay, but it also was meant to address how do we accommodate all of our members who are coming home now, and all of the people who are wanting to be members of our community. That claim was filed in 2004, and in 2008, Canada offered to negotiate on, I believe it was about 400 and some acres on the land shortfall from the end of the Duck Bay Reserve to the creation of the Pine Creek one. They said they owed us almost 500 acres of land. I refused at that time in 2008, 2009 to negotiate on those terms because I believed that there was something bigger, something something more in the history of our people in this claim. So fast forward a few years, when Chief Bushy was in there, he filed a statement of claim for everything. All the historical grievances we had was filed as a claim, and that claim didn't get launched or moved past the federal court application. Because in 2016, we started researching again and redoing the historical research. And it was because of a young lawyer from our community who said, you know, we should look at this. We should look at this historical issue, and we should do it properly and file in law what's called a statement of claim if the history shows that they owe us something. And that young lawyer is Jeremy McKay. And we should all be very honored that we have such a young, brilliant mind in our membership. A young warrior who's willing to fight for us, and he's fighting for us every day out there. So we did the historical research. It was authorized by the previous chief and council because it cost money to do that. I don't know how much was spent, but in the area, maybe 30 to 50,000 had to get spent on the research. And that research was offered to other communities in our area, and those other communities didn't do it, except for Sapatoila. Sapatoila also did their research. And at the end of the day, we found that we have a claim. And in 2017, that claim was filed with Canada. Or maybe it was 2018, I'm not sure, but pretty close to those dates. Don and Cindy might remember better because they were part of that council that authorized the claim to go in. As Canada always does, they took that claim and they put it on the shelf at the Department of Justice for at least 3 years. After they said we met the minimum, what they call the minimum threshold for the claim, they put it on the shelf for 3 years. And in January of 2023, they sent us a letter and said, yep, we owe you something. And we're willing to negotiate what we owe you. So we sat down as council and we agreed. We got the letter on a Monday. By Tuesday, Canada knew we were ready to negotiate with them. That's how quickly we've tried to move this process forward on your behalf. Canada set the terms of the negotiation by sending us what they call a formula. It worked on our historical population as well as our current one. And it also provided a current value on what might have been lost in terms of economic opportunity. It's nowhere near what some people think is owed to us, but it was something that they were willing to negotiate and something we agreed to negotiate with them on. By November of 2023, we were very close. We were very, very close. And by the end of November, we were there. And we agreed to bring their settlement offer to the table for our membership to decide upon. You see, it's not chief and council that makes the decision on the agreement. It's always been you as the membership. By going out and casting your vote for what was decided upon and either agreeing to it or not. And 99% of you that voted agreed to the terms. And that gave us a mandate to settle it out. With the amount identified at about 206 million, we went to the bank after you agreed to ratify the agreement. We went to the bank and we borrowed some money so that you could get your partial per capita distribution before Christmas. And most of you took advantage of that opportunity and you received a $5,000 deposit or a check before Christmas. And I hope that helped out your Christmas in 2023. I know it helped out a lot of people. But that loan continued to accumulate interest until the money was received. And we had been told by our lawyer that it could take anywhere up to 10 months for Canada to sign off the agreement and send the money. Well, by the end of February, Canada signed off on our claim. And as far as I'm aware, that's one of the fastest that the minister has ever signed off on a claim. Last Friday, the lawyer notified us that the money's in with his trust. So the money has moved from Canada into the trust account of our lawyer. And that allowed us to set the date for the per capita distribution of April 8th. And that's why we were able to say on April 8th, we'll start pushing the money from our trustee into your bank accounts and issuing checks for those of you who wanted to receive a check. That's where we're at. But in between all of this, we've had to sit and talk about what about the rest of the money that's there? Because there's going to be about 50 million after everybody's paid out their total of 25,000 in their next PCD. There's going to be about 50 million or more sitting there. And what are we going to do with that? When you look at the trust agreement allows us to do a few different scenarios, and we haven't decided on that as a council because we wanted to talk to you about it first. You see, the amount that's going to go from the lawyer to the trustee is about 175 million because we had to pay back that 25 million loan we took out for your PCD before Christmas. And this is where the conversation gets very complex. And I'll get into that a little bit more once the rest of the council gets an opportunity to speak. But one thing that I wanted to comment on briefly, and I'm going to say it here in our community, amongst our families and our people here, is that there are people traveling around, going to different communities throughout the West, in other treaty territories, and they're saying that we sold out. Some of you have seen that on social media. You see it on Facebook, or you see it on TikTok, or whatever the social media. I call it popular culture. And I fully and 100% support people to speak what they have to say and to share their opinion. I fully support that. I'll never get in the way of anybody speaking their truth. But what I will do is I will oftentimes provide what I understand from my truth and from the truth of the work that we've done together as a community. Because our community forms our own truth of what we've seen, of who we are, and what we will be in the future. Our truth is our truth, and it's up to us to determine what that is. So some people have gone around saying that we have given away the treaty right to agriculture. And I have said, no, we have not given away anything. Because the treaty didn't create our rights. The treaty that we have for our people did not create our rights. Our rights were always here. For thousands of years, we have had our rights. Our rights are inherent to who we are. And for thousands of years, we Anishinabe have been traveling all over this great Turtle Island. And we've been planting gardens. And we've been growing food and harvesting food. That right is something that we can never give away, because that right comes from the Creator. And it's part of the natural law. Part of the natural law that we can follow, and that we should follow as the Anishinaabe people. Some of you are still practicing the treaty right to agriculture, or the inherent right to agriculture. When every spring you break the land and you plant your gardens. That's your right. And none of this settlement will ever take that away. We have a bison farm here. This settlement will never take our bison farm away. In fact, we have the opportunity to grow that bison farm if we want to, by making strategic investment in helping it flourish even more. Nothing we have done can take that treaty right away from you. Now, I will say that all day, and people will disagree with me at some point. Some people will disagree, but that's okay. They're entitled to their opinion. Because you see, we brought our freedom to the treaty table in the 1870s, a freedom that can never, ever be taken away from us. I've done my best to understand what freedom means to me as an Anishinaabe man. And it meant that I would have to learn a lot of things. I'd have to fail a lot, but also succeed once in a while. It means that I would have to understand what it means to hold this eagle fan. It means I would have to understand what it means to go to ceremony, to go to Sundance, and go through those processes. It meant that I'd have to go to school and become educated in the way that they teach and understand how they bring a law they call the common law. And what are the implications of common law to us as the original people when they bring these man-made laws here? How does that impact us? And I also have to understand what money is. All of these things I've come to know and understand as best I could so that I can share with you what I've learned. And I've been around the world to make these understandings and to gain these understandings as best I could. I don't know everything. I don't even know that much. But what I do know, I share with you. And I will tell you, we did not give anything away in this agreement. I've had lawyers reviewing it. I've had our own settlement agreement reviewed many times by our own lawyers. Not a lawyer in Saskatchewan who looks at our agreement for 5 minutes on TikTok. That's not how we did it. We did it by sitting with you and getting your perspective on it. We did this by giving it to our lawyers and making sure that we weren't leaving anything behind. Making sure that we're not taking anything away from future generations. That's how we did it. And I can sleep good at night knowing that that's how we did this. I don't lose any sleep, and I'm not ashamed to talk to anybody about it and to defend our position as a community. But I don't need to debate anybody because people walk in their truth. They're going to walk in their truth and their understandings no matter what I say. And I too am going to do that. And we as a council are going to do that. We will walk in our truth. We can pull Canadian law and reference Canadian law where even the Canadian courts have said that when Indigenous communities make a claim, they're not extinguishing their treaty. The claims have to be viewed in the context under which they're settled. It's treaty fulfilled. It's treaty fulfillment on a very small part of the treaty. That's the agricultural benefits. The agricultural benefits are a very small part of a big treaty we made that's comprehensive to our experience as human beings in relationship to them who have come here from all over the world to settle amongst us. And you know, all these people have come here from around the world. They're looking for peace because some of them are fleeing war. Some of them are fleeing starvation and famine. Some of them are fleeing disease and genocide to come and live here and hope that they can survive. And why can they do that? Because we created a condition where they could. And that condition is called a treaty. And we have to remember that. That's really what this treaty is about. It's about protecting a peaceful place. And we live in a place now where we're seeing, and we have, some of the last of the fresh water in the world. We're living in a place where our families can still go to the mountain and still hunt and take down some of the biggest free-roaming animals in the world. Nowhere else can do this on the planet anymore because the planet is changing so quickly. So we're in a very, very good position. And I honor and respect all of you for making the choices that you have in the way forward. We'll do our part. I need you to do yours. You're going to get money in your pocket in the next coming days. In a few days, you're going to get, some of you will get the 25,000 because you already took the 5 before Christmas. Some of you will get 30 because you didn't take your money before Christmas. And with that money in your pocket, you're going to have to make a decision. Am I going to use this money for my family in a good way? Or am I going to use this money in a bad way? Because money can do two things. It can help you or it can hurt you. And you have to decide what that money in your pocket is going to do. Is it going to improve your quality of life here in our community? Or is it going to contribute to that, what we call the dark side? That dark side we know every day because we all see it and we all feel it. That dark side and recognizing that some of our people and some of our families are struggling with addiction, struggling with hardship. Let's make sure we help them as we go forward. Let's make sure we do the right thing with that dollar in our pocket. And I remember when we were talking about this and talking about people with money in their pocket last year, and I know our families well enough to know that we love our kids. And I know that grandmas and grandpas love their grandbabies. And I know you'll spend your money to help them do good things, to make them happy. Right now, a big chunk of our community isn't even in the community because they're taking their kids to play hockey at the Manitoba Indian Cultural Education Center annual tournament. And at that tournament, our kids are not only getting a chance to play hockey, but they're also going and playing laser tag. And they're also going to flying squirrel and jumping on the trampolines and going to the movies and having a great time. Getting to eat at restaurants that we don't have here in the community. And that's giving them a life experience, something that they're enjoying. And to me, that's important. That's very important that we do that for our little ones. So that's what this is really all about. And with the rest of the money that's there after you have your PCD, it's going to be in 2 different trusts. And I'm going to get into some of that detail a little bit here later on. It's going to go into 2 different trusts that chief and council can't touch that trust. We can't touch that, so we can't go there and for political reasons draw it down. It's locked in. It's locked away from us. And there's processes that are going to have to be put in place for our community to access some of that money for the future. Because that money can grow for the next 50, 75, 100 years. So that 3, 4 generations and even beyond down the line are going to be able to access some of those resources to help continue to build our community in a good way. It's part of the conversation I want to have in a little bit. So thank you for listening to me, because we are at a very important time in our history as a community. We're at a very important time, and I want everybody to understand why and how we do the things we do, so that there's no rumors out there about how things are happening or why they're happening. I want you to rest assured knowing that we have the best interests of our community always at the forefront of what we're doing. And it's been that way since day one. I can tell you from working with these people here, and Harley, who's not here, always putting the kids first. That's our goal. So, miigwech for hearing me. I want to hear from the rest of council as well.
Bonjour, Anishinabe. First of all, I'd like to thank the elder for the opening prayer, and I'd like to thank all of you for coming out today, and the people online here zooming in. I'd like to thank everyone for that. I guess the chief pretty much explained everything that's been happening. I'm pretty sure the claim started in 18. It started, it was introduced to the council. But other than that, we need your opinions and your input on this to guide us in the right direction. We make the right decision for all our members and our children. Those are the ones that are going to be benefiting from this claim, the children in the future. So, that being said, I'd just like to thank you all again for coming out. Which
I was going to take it out, but I can't. Welcome all of you. Miigwech Minegoziibe, Wabwinikwet Dishnikas, Mishkutebishike Dudem, Shu Minegoziibe Anishinabe and Key Talk. I work for all of you. I started working for you about 10 years ago, and I've worked very hard for all of you, and I will continue that path for as long as you have me here. I too would like to acknowledge that warrior that started this, that said, Mom, we have a very important claim here that we need to look at. And so he brought it to the previous council and we ran with it. And then we with this council, we carried on what we needed to do with that claim. On a bigger scale, we always say that we need to invest on our community, our children, our homes, and our future. And that's what I always teach my own children. Well, we have to invest. We have to take care of you. Therefore, you need to take care of your future children as well. And that's what we all need to do here. I have a little bit of a cold today, but I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad to see all of you. Again, miigwech to all of you for coming.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank everybody online, everybody in person. I'd like to thank council for their opening remarks. I think, like Don said, Derek did clear up a lot of things that went into this claim. I guess I'd just like to say and put it out there that us here as council only get the same amount as each and every one of you. We don't get anything more or anything less. We just get the band members same amount of $30,000. I know there was people saying out there that we get more or we're taking more. Some of our family members didn't get the PCD on time as well, so it wasn't pick and choose who got. We were just going with the flow. Like Cindy said, we're here for the people. We've been here for the people. We're working for the people. That's why we call this meeting today, to get your input. We need to know which direction to go. So once again, thank you all for being here. Thank you everybody who tuned in online. I think there's like over 150 people tuned in online right now. That's what I'm watching on my phone, live. So to me, which for all being here.
I was hoping you guys were going to each speak 15 minutes each. Yeah, I wanted to just echo the point. Like, I know people out there in social media world, are saying like they're just doing this for the money, blah blah blah. But it's not about the money. It's about obligation, responsibilities that are owed to us as treaty families, as treaty descendants. That's what this claim is all about. And Chief and Council, myself and the council, are not getting any more or any less than anybody else. Like, that's not what this was about. We talked about that because other communities might operate differently. They might have made decisions differently than we did, but that's not how we did it. We saw maybe there'd be a conflict of interest if we were trying to put more, in our families' pockets, and we don't want to raise conflict of interest in this process. We don't want anybody to feel like they've received less, because that's not what this process has always been about. It's been about making sure that everyone's treated fairly. One of the issues that came out very early on in the process as well was confidentiality. Because in order to negotiate with Canada, we needed to sign what was called the confidentiality protocol. And we did sign that protocol, which meant that certain aspects of our claim were going to be kept out of the social media circles. And that was difficult because right away people were asking us what we were doing, and people from other communities wanted to know how or why we were proceeding, and we couldn't share any information with them. It's not that we didn't want to share, it was because we made an agreement that we would negotiate in good faith under certain conditions. And that's not to say that the treaty is confidential, because the treaty is not confidential. Our treaty protocols, our treaty negotiation protocol, when you look back on how it was done in the open with all of our families under the light of day. There were no secrets. Everybody shared and spoke and said what they had to say. And I believe in that. I believe in the freedom of treaty and the sharing of information about treaty. I believe in that. But we did agree that this claim would be done to some extent within the confidentiality protocol, because it can get spun in social media world. As you've seen, it gets spun by so many different commentators. Some of them have never even been part of a negotiation, but yet they claim to be experts in this area, which is really unfortunate. But nonetheless, here we are. And to do the next phase of the conversation, I wanted to put up the presentation that, Grant, there's a portion that I wanted to share with you. The money that you have on April 8th or after is your money, and you'll do with it what you want to do with it. Okay? Me, I'm going to pay some bills. Bills like some of us have bills to pay, so I'm going to pay some bills, and it's that's how it's going to be. But the band has a responsibility. The leadership in the community have a responsibility to make sure that we're not spending our money. So that this agreement that we've made, that there's money there for the future. After all of us are gone, and after, you know, the young kids in here grow up and they're the next chief and council and thereafter, that money is there. That means that we have to invest some of it, okay? So we've sat with different banks and we interviewed 4 different banks, okay? And we picked the Bank of Montreal as our trustee. So we have an independent corporate trustee who's going to be responsible, legally responsible, to make sure that the trust is operated as the trust says it's ought to be operated. You know, if we go to him and say, cut us a check for Charlie Major, he's going to say, no, that's not part of the terms of the agreement. You know, so we're not going to be able to do that kind of thing because he has an independent legal responsibility to our community. And he's going to make sure that that trust operates the way it operates. That's the Bank of Montreal trustee. Okay? We also have loans with the Bank of Montreal. And that's who our banker has been for the last few years. Those loans are going to be addressed, okay? But they've also offered us other loans, which could in the long term help us grow our money faster. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense just by saying it, but when you look at how that loan could work, we could use some of that loan to put into the trust. So instead of working with just the money that we have after the PCDs are all paid, they're willing to lend us some money so that we can put more money in the trust as an initial investment. Now, when you start with the bigger investment amount, it grows faster over time. Even though we'll be paying a loan off, that money will still grow faster in the trust. Okay, and I think that, got the presentation up on the screen now. If we could just go to the next slide, please. So the Bank of Montreal has put forward to us three different options. The first option you see is what they call no loan. That is, if we pay out the PCD and just work with the cash on hand that's left, and put that into the trust. And when I say trust, there's basically 2 trusts. One is for the children who are under 18, who are going to get their PCD after they turn 18. So we have to have about an 18 or 19-year window on that trust to allow for payment to children. That's part of the legal landscape that we're working within. We can't distribute that money for the children now. It has to stay in their name in the trust. And there will be a process for after they turn 18. So even the children that were born, you know, in early December of this 2023, they'll have access to money that we'll have set aside for them. They'll get their PCD when they turn 18. That's part of the trust. The other side of the trust, which leaves about, if we don't take a loan, leaves about 19 million in there. And what will happen is every year, 3.5%, okay, of that trust value will come out as an income to the community. All right? And that 19.5 million that's in there will be invested by what's called an investment manager. That investment manager will also have an independent investment advisor that's going to oversee and provide us with advice on what that investment manager is doing. So if that investment manager has made investments in failing stocks, for example, or in bonds that aren't performing, our advisor will tell us. And our advisor will say, that manager is not performing. Put that manager on notice because we're going to fire that manager and bring somebody else in. That's what that advisor is there to do. That advisor that we're talking about has already been identified because we spent the time interviewing and going through proposals from 3 different investment advisor firms. And we chose an investment advisor firm called TE Wealth, okay? What was the reason for choosing them? It was because they work strictly with Indigenous communities with their trusts, and they're mostly Indigenous staff. They're mostly Indigenous people with expertise in financial services like this. So that's why we chose them as our advisor. And the gentleman that we're going to be speaking with this afternoon, his name is Jack. He's going to be online with us at about 2 o'clock. He's going to do a very brief presentation about what his investment advisory services include. Okay? So I'll save that portion for his conversation. But that doesn't, address the issue that we have with the bank. So the bank has also offered us a couple of different scenarios. Other than taking no loan, they've offered us 2 scenarios where we could take a loan against the per capita distribution, okay? So they call that the one option the optimized loan, and the other one the amortized bridge loan, okay? So they're willing to take the bridge loan that we took of 30 million and turn that into a 25-year loan, so that we make annual small payments on it over 25 years. But then what we do with that 30 million is we put it back into the trust, so that instead of having 19 million, now we have 19 million plus 30 million to work with. And with that seed capital, the trust grows a lot faster, okay? But what happens in that environment is that we don't get that 3.5% annual income off the trust, because that 3.5% goes to paying off that loan. So essentially, we don't have any income coming out of there because it's paying off the loan, but the trust is growing faster for future generations. And this presentation was made to us as council, and we thought, well, we're not prepared to make that conversation happen or that decision until we talk to the membership. And that's what part of today's conversation is about, is to make you informed as to what this is all about and why it might be advantageous for us to borrow some money from the bank, to have more money in that trust that grows faster in time for the next generations of our young people. It means that we won't be able to access that income of 3.5% that's coming out of the trust annually. But that's okay, because it's being saved for the next generation of leaders anyway. And I believe the next generation of our young ones will make the good decisions that they can based on the opportunities that they have. I believe in that. When I look in the future, I see good things, because we've already seen it. We've already seen our young people come up and do amazing things with education, visions about the future, and what they can do to contribute to a good community. I believe in that. So that's what we wanted to share. If you go to the next screen. Okay, so as you can see, it's not a very good image on the screen, but look, the high number there is what the returns look like if we take out the loan. That's how fast the trust grows over time if we have some of the loan money put back into the trust. Okay, but like I said, the trust grows fast, but today and next year, for the next number of years, we don't see any income coming out of that trust, because it's going to service the debt. And I know it's a complex conversation, it's a complex issue, but it's important for us to have this. Keep in mind that this is only a part of our total revenue as a community. Okay? The revenue that we're looking at in the future includes our developments in Dauphin, okay, because we'll make money in Dauphin. When our Petro-Canada is built this year, for example, we'll make probably anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 a month just in tobacco rebate. And that money will come back to the community for investment in our community. And we have people like Brenda Ketchway working on that. Larry Laval, our CEO of our Economic Development Board. We still also have all of our band revenue coming in through our contribution funding agreement, our CFA. And within that CFA, we have all of the operating capital that we use to run the band here in the community every year. We've expanded that because we include Jordan's Principle as well, right? So we're now doing the Officer of Jordan's Principle program. And within that program, we're spending $4 to $5 million a year supporting families off reserve. So we're in a really good position. This is not the entirety of what we have as a community. There's other sources of revenue that we operate from, and those revenues will continue to build as we move forward. So that's the additional part of the conversation that I wanted to share. And we want some community feedback. Like, we don't have to borrow from the bank if you don't want us to, but we see it as potentially bringing more money into the community through the growth of the trust, right? So that's important, not for us that are sitting here today, but for these little ones, so that there's revenue there. And as that revenue grows, that 3.5% that comes in annually will grow. And that will, I believe, contribute to how we do things here in the community in a good way. So I know it's a complex issue, but I wanted to share that, and we want your feedback on where we're going with this, because we do have to make a decision as a community here very soon, because we want to make sure that that money is capitalizing on the interest rates that are out there, as well as other investments that can be made through the trust. Very much. Cynthia, you have some questions? Pardon me? Okay. So there's a couple of questions that came in on the platform, the Zoom or the live stream. The first question is, how much do we owe? Okay. On Friday of this week, we received payout statements on the bridge loan that we took out for the PCD before Christmas, but we also received a payout statement on the loan that was taken out for this community hall. Okay. The total amount owing on the bridge loan, as well as this community hall, came out to, I believe, somewhere between 25 and 26 million, and that was paid out. Okay, against our settlement. So the money was paid out by the lawyer to the bank to pay those off. This building cost approximately just under $3 million to build. $1.5 million was spent by the previous contractor that we hired, a company out of Ontario. When I became chief and working with our council, we tried to get them to come back and finish it after COVID, and they refused. We went to our lawyer and we filed a statement of claim in court asking them to pay us back the money we paid them, and they filed for bankruptcy. So we couldn't collect our money back. At the same time that was happening, we were talking to other contractors out there that were willing to do this work. And as you can see, we have a completed finished community hall now, but that cost an additional $1.5 million. So this building cost $3 million. Okay, we did a combination of working with the new contractor, but also borrowing from the bank to bankroll the $1.5 million we needed to finish this. And that loan was paid out on Friday. So that's what we owe. That's a good question. There's also a question about people passing away. If somebody received the PCD on December 15th, okay, they were eligible at that time, but has since passed away, their remaining PCD of $25,000 will go into their estate. Okay, so whoever their beneficiary is or the next of kin who is managing their estate will have to make that application for them. Okay, and it will go into the estate of the deceased person. That's how I understand that to work. The trustee will have better answers for you in terms of how to initiate that process, because that's what their job is, to administer the trust and the payments to estates. So, okay, are there any questions from anybody? Cynthia?
Hello. Hello, thanks for listening. A few years back, my brother's son passed away. We got him over here through hardship. They said there was no money on the reserve, and I wanted to know why. So I went to Winnipeg Indian Affairs, and I wanted to know what was going on, because there was papers signed that every funeral would be taken care of without having to charge any of the people, any of the family. So I said, well, how much did you give? He said that we sent the money to the reserve. Well, how much did you give? I said. He said, for 5 people. Are you having crazy? I said, how do you know 5 people are only going to die in each reserve? You know what I told him? If you don't do something about this, I'm going to go to every province in Manitoba, all the way from BC all the way to wherever I have to go. I said, you guys are I'm gonna find out, I'm gonna check these research on you screwing. I'm sorry about the language, but that's what I said to him. He said, 3 o'clock today. I said, I was living in Winnipeg. I said, 3 o'clock today, if that's not paid, I'm gonna cross, I'm gonna go through the media, right through. I know I shouldn't be talking like this, but I wanted to know the truth, what I did. By 2:45, I got a phone call, everything is paid for. Now, why do they only pay 5 funerals? You must know because you work for those people.
I work for our community, I don't work for Canada.
Yeah,
But I will tell you that Canada has never provided enough program and service money in their funding agreements to take care of this property. They never have, and they never will.
they will. They will, they have to, they got no choice. As a paper was signed when some of these lands were taken, that they take care of the people. Wouldn't we do something about that?
If we look at what's happened here, Canada has always provided money for dependency on their programs, and it's never been enough. We know that, and we provide top-ups. We call top-ups through our own source revenues. So for a tobacco rebate, or if we're making money, it used to be VLTs that used to make money.
But it's never enough.
It's not enough, no, and it's never been enough. And that's why we take back a lot of these responsibilities to build our own economy.
It goes to every person that has to pay for what they can't afford. That's crazy.
Yeah. But that's how it's been for us, and that's
I'm
why.
gonna go to Ottawa again. I'm gonna go and bark.
I'll go with you.
Okay, sure. I'm serious. I'm not. Because if I die, it is crazy. I'm sorry for that. Every single human being here has that problem, and it's not just my family; it's everybody. I want that taken care of. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to jump into there as long as I don't die before it happens. Okay, because I already have my account. Thanks for listening. Thank you.
Very much.
There's a lot of landscape,
Cynthia, can you give David the?
I'm loving it. Like the day school, the residential, all that has come up, and I find it really hard when somebody doesn't know how to fill out the form. And then a lot of them are already declared not to fill it out, and then we don't have nobody out there to help us fill those out. So we gave Canada back hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. And I think this there to be true, it's on the news. Another case come up, and not just here, other reserves also, because I talked to all of my friends and said, what are you talking about, David? What are you talking about? I didn't know you could do that. You really start playing there. I don't know what's going on out there. But there's nobody helping these people to fill out these claims, to even know about these claims that are coming out. And I kind of find it appalling. We're smart people. There should be something in place automatically to help these elders that don't know what is going on. Because there's lots of lawsuits out there. I'll tell you people, at some point, we're not going to see it, but okay, at some point, those kids right there are going to be rich. Rich. They won't even have to work or get law for anymore. I think that in the future. Because we have in Canada for half their lands. Everything that they wrote down, it's all yours. Yeah, like Derek said, this world is lucky to have Indians. Really, you are. When they docked here in Canada, somebody saved those white people. I'll tell you that. The story, there's no legend, it's a true fact. We wanted them dead. And there have been around the States, we have killed the white man because they are bad. They come for the gold. I don't know who saved these people that came to Canada. It might have been the flock of women, it might have been the elders. But there was going to be an extinction level there. Somebody saved the white man. They were close. They wiped them out, took their head, put them into the ocean, toward the ocean, and said, come on. Because without tribes, it's much more for us. You hear about it. But yeah, the real children of Indians. Like that. Everybody wants. But there is things out there for us. And somebody to help us know how to direct us. You know, George's principles here. The 25 million work is here. The enhancement of life is what states what I read. And I'm a pretty dummy if I'll say that. And that means to better your life. Whether it be housing, whether it be the kids to get a playground, the betterment of life. The hockey, we still all like this. That's the betterment of life. That's things we didn't see that when we were our age. They will. The betterment of life. There's lots out there, but people gotta council has to help these people get through. Didn't even know there's no private updates. Didn't know. We gotta smarten a little bit on these land rates. We have $5 coming in. Big one. You're all gonna be rich. It's working paid off, I can believe it. That's a big price. Yeah. But we do need some help on that area.
Thank you, Dave.
Hello. I have a question. Do you have any paper form of this presentation? Like I can't see from here and I would like to follow through. And maybe later on I would like to start in this package. And if I have any questions then I will ask the questions, but I can't see from here.
We can get copies printed. I don't think that we can get them printed today, but if anybody wants a copy of the BMO presentation, we can share it. The only thing I ask is if, when we do these things that you don't email them to, to people out there. This is a community conversation and it's good to get advice, but I just ask that we keep these documents of confidential nature about the community's money within our community. That's all I ask, is that we keep it together that way.
I have a question. This is mine. But why do grandchildren that are on the list as of the December 15th, is there going to be a process to ensure that they are going to be eligible, like they should get a certificate that they could keep? Because we might not be around forever, like for them to know when they're 18 that they're going to get that money. I'd like to rent a safety deposit box and put my grandchildren their certificate in there that matures when they turn 18. So just kind of a recommendation for that.
I think that's a good idea, Brenda.
There's so much distraction they can hear online. There's so much distraction on
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, the ones, like the children that are gonna be 18 this year, will they get any kind of interest? Or the ones that are gonna turn 18 in 18 years, are they gonna get interest on that money, or they're just gonna get that 30?
The question is best for the trustee, but I believe that they're going to get interest because that's the whole reason why it's being set aside separately. And it's going to be, that money is being invested in fixed income investments, so it's guaranteed. So they will be getting interest as far as I understand, but that question will be best for the lawyer. I believe that's the case though.
Okay, there's another question I want to ask. If any of you are not chief and council in the next few years, if the chief and council change, what will happen to the agreements that you're making right now? Are they able to change these things after the different chief and council come on, or it'll stay the way it's supposed to?
The settlement agreement and the trust agreement are legal. They're legal agreements, so they can't be changed. But what can be changed is, like if a new chief and council came in, they could change investment advisors, so they could fire managers and hire new managers. But the terms of the trust agreement are legal documents, and if they were to try to change them, they would have to go to a court to make those changes, and they'd have to file an application and go through that process to make those changes. But, you know, that remains to be seen whether that's a priority of the community, because you'd expect your chief and council to work based on the priorities of the community, right? So.
We've been getting a lot of questions in office since this came about, and we're getting the second part. And can you just reiterate to everybody again what the process is for applying and who they can apply with? Because those are the two biggest questions that we had in the last couple of weeks.
Applying for the PCD?
Yes.
Okay. If you provided all of your banking information in the first round, then you don't have to do anything. You just have to watch your bank account after April 8th for the money to arrive. Because if it arrived there the first time, we have all the information to make it happen the second time. If you did not receive it in the first round, okay, if you did not get the 5,000, then we in our announcement, we provided a new email address and a new phone number to contact in order to get your documents received. If you're in the community and you want to handwrite your documents, and if you want a paper copy, Nancy Chokin is our band member navigation in the band office, and you can see her and she'll give you the documentation you need. She'll even receive it for you and she'll upload it to the administrator of the payment. Okay, so that your information will be there before the cutoff time of, I believe it's Thursday the 4th or 5th. That way the information can be uploaded to the trustee by the 8th for payment. So if you haven't filled out your documentation, you can come to the band office and get it done. If you're not in the community and you still need to fill out the paperwork, then take a look at the email address and the phone number, and you can contact through that channel.
And some of the questions, or one of the other questions also we were being asked is, are we eligible? And because a lot of them are just getting their number, and we're telling them, yeah, before, as long as you were registered before December 15th, you're eligible. But if you could just maybe tell them again.
Yeah, if you're a band member and you were alive on December 15th at 11:59 p.m., then you're eligible. If you were registered as a band member the next day, you're not eligible. Yes. You don't need the card as long as you've been assigned a band number that starts with 282, right? Mine's 282-0087-101, right? So everybody will have a 282 that starts their number. And if your number starts that way, then bingo.
Like some of these people here, a lot of people who rely happy, got 3 kids registered, couldn't get their one because of the long term came in late, or something that over years ago away.
You had to be a member on December 15th by 11:59 p.m.
Is there a list printed that date?
We have a list right to the minute. Yeah. Now, what that scenario doesn't cover, Brenda, is the scenario that you mentioned earlier, is that if someone was born before that cutoff time, but doesn't have their own independent status number because they're still under 24 months, we'll have to identify who that is specifically.
So if they weren't registered yet, they still have 24 months after December 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have to have been eligible.
This month.
You mean some of these kids have a chance to still register?
No. Unless they're under 2 years old. And they're eligible. And they're eligible. They have to, in that time that they have to prove their eligibility, so that means they have to get a number. Because a lot of parents don't apply for the status number until after 2, right? Okay, so, but you can still use your parent status number for like uninsured health benefits, I think, for up to 2 years. Yeah.
Whatever I applied for my grandchildren's 3D application in October, August 25th, September 25th. And their older sibling got their status, but the other two didn't, because their application was lost in the mail.
The general rule from this is not me, this is the lawyer and the agreement speaking, they had to have been a member on December 15th at 11:59 p.m.
But when we had our sessional meetings, I forget that question came up, and I don't know which person said it would be honored. Because I know my friend is the one that came up with the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
We have to go with
someone
the,
said they will be honored because the application is there already, and then my grandchildren's applications were lost in the mail.
there's probably several hundred. I think at one point there was upwards of 400 applications in the system before the December 15th cutoff.
Yeah, because I talked to IMAC and they looked for those applications and they could not find them. It was a about 600 to 700. And then the IMAC said to me, they should have been sent for about 600 to 700.
I can't speak to the specifics.
My grandchildren lost out on that. 4 of them. Because they weren't received. I don't know where Ricky sent them. I don't like to say his name, but I don't know where Ricky sent them. Then they were trying to get a hold of Ricky, that the cutoff date, and Ricky was not in the office. And they couldn't understand why.
There was a lot of challenges getting that first PCD done in the weeks ahead of the PCD. We did the best we could by hiring extra staff, and we realized that we don't have enough people to handle the 5,000 members and questions coming in. So that's why we've put it to a third party to do the next one, so we don't have to put pressure on our staff to do this. It's just too much for one small office, which is only paid part-time from Canada. Luella?
Yeah, I'm just, I want to know what would happen in a situation where the kids had, like my grandchildren, we applied for their status and they've been denied. It's like, okay, why is my daughter allowed to get hers, but my grandchildren don't get theirs? So that kind of cuts out our Indian side, but our white side keeps going.
I can't speak to that because we don't process the applications well. Like it's Canada that makes the determination of who gets a status Indian number and who doesn't.
But we keep throwing us into situations where it's up to us to prove that their information is wrong.
I agree with you.
And that needs to be looked at because there's a lot of families being denied because of this.
I agree. But there's also a lot of families going to court to try to preserve status Indian application processes as well. See, it's a double-edged sword.
So what do we all have to do? Do we have to go privately and sue them?
There's the opportunity to take over our membership, but even then we don't determine who the status Indian is because Canada won't give that away. Even in modern self-government agreements, they still make the determination who the status Indian is. That's how they manage us in the colonial paradigm. So we do have the investment advisor on online. He was planning on joining us at 2 o'clock. We're a few minutes overtime, but I did want to give him 15 to 20 minutes to introduce himself. He does have some slides that he wanted to share on the screen, but I've noticed that the screen isn't perfect and the technology isn't perfect for people to see that. But I do want to give him a few minutes to introduce himself because he will be advising our community. And he will be here in the future to speak more about it, but he's going to be doing this remotely. So we're going to do the best we can to get him. We're going to let Grant's IT wizardry. He's going to present for a few minutes to talk about what his service is and answer any questions that anybody might have about investment advisory services. Grant, are we able to get him up? There he is. Mr. Jack Jameson, can you hear me okay?
I can do, sir.
Okay, Jack, you have about 15 minutes to cram 1 hour of material into.
No, that's great. And thank you, Chief Derek. I'm not, there's a bit of echo there. I guess if I don't talk as loud or talk as fast, maybe. Is that better? But I hope everybody's doing well. And I thank you very much for allowing me to join you today. And congratulations to all on your settlement claim for past wrongs. And you know, it goes without saying that our Indigenous advisory practice is extremely honored to be supporting your community on the journey ahead. And I guess more from an investment perspective. Can you hear me okay? It's all good?
Yes.
Good. No, and as introduced by Chief, my name's Jack Jameson, and I lead, and I was one of the founders. My gray hair, I've been around for a while, but our practice, and I really, I guess, in the next 15 minutes or so, just give you a bit of an idea. We're very honored, let's put it this way, to be supporting your community and you as individual members and the trust and leadership. And I'll give you a little bit of an understanding of our practice, where we fit in, and really some of the key steps that are coming forward. And a lot of the questions I've been able to overhear in the sense of the PCDs and things like that. And really, where are we going as a trust and as a community? What are our needs and things like that? If we go on to the next, and again, though, this is your time. So when I'm done here chatting, don't hesitate to ask questions. But if we go to the next slide, it really kind of gives you a little bit of an understanding of our practice. Again, we're not a corporate trustee. We're not an investment manager. We do sit on your side of the table in the sense of providing sort of, I guess, really to understand the needs of the community, to help understand what we as a trust, that trust needs to do to help, you know, kind of strategies that are going to meet the needs of the community. And really that bullet at the bottom of the slide really is probably the most important. It's really to help your community meet the needs of today, but also that of future generations. It's not it's really growing this to do good things, but grow for the future. Our practice, we've been very honored to be around for over 25 years now. We support it's well over 55 Indigenous relationships now from coast to coast to coast. And I guess, as I said, we're not a corporate trustee. We're not an investment manager. We're really independent, objective. We sit on your side of the table from an investment perspective, I guess, as an advisor, to really make sure, as you know, the trust agreement is the rules. From an investment perspective, it's really to make sure that the trust meets the needs from an investment perspective, to meet those needs of the trust. And I guess if we get into the next slide, it's really, I guess we're very honored. Again, we've been around for a while, but, and I say this kind of, you know, very sincerely, that community support, we're not just an advisor. We're not going to, and again, you will see me in person. This was, you know, again, wasn't aware that the community meeting was going on today till a very short time ago, so I couldn't be there to join you in person. But we do want to be part of the family. We want to be part of the community. We're not just going to be an advisor and see you once a year. We are, and I'll give Chief Derek credit for this one. He twisted my arm, and we're going to be contributing education bursaries to your community. I'm saying that tongue in cheek, Chief. We're very honored to do it. And each year we'll give some monies towards an education bursary for your community. And we're going to support community events, whether it's powwows, whether, if you've got a hockey team and you need to do jerseys. Again, I say it's giving back, it's being part of the family and being there and just taking part. And we're very committed on that part of it as well. On a national basis, you'll see, again, we're very interested in, and we do support Inspire, the scholarship program. I'm sure many of you have heard of Inspire. Simon Fraser's University, their MBA program, Carleton University out of Ottawa, their Indigenous scholarship degree in finance. There's a common theme here. And again, I know we've got lots of Indigenous lawyers, a lot of Indigenous doctors and social workers and things like that. We are very active in going into the community, into the youth, and talking to the youth in the high schools to talk about potentially getting a business degree. And I say this to you as parents, for those in the room or the youth in the room, get a business degree. I'll tell you, the industry, in the sense of the banking industry, the investment industry, the trust industry, needs Indigenous professionals, needs Indigenous people that, if you can get a business degree, I will tell you, the industry will hire the youth up overnight, because again, there's tremendous wealth, as you know, being created right across the country within the Indigenous community. And it's important to have Indigenous professionals working in, and we'll come and talk to the high school, the youth in the high school, in all the communities we deal with, to try and sort of share this with them. But we are giving back to the community on a national basis. We are part of the AFOA. I don't know if you've heard of AFOA, but they had their AFOA Canada conference in Winnipeg just, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And we're very honored in that sense that AFOA recognizes us. And this is, I guess, just a tribute from AFOA to in the sense of supporting your community on a trust and investment perspective. We developed a trust investment workshop, 2-day workshop, probably 10 years ago now, in 2013. And AFOA has this, running that 2-day workshop for the last 10 years ahead of their national conference. And we'll run this kind of thing even for within your own community. Just about even, we'll talk about this. I've hearing in the sense of the settlement claims and the minors turning of age. It's important. And whether I'm an elder, whether I'm just an on reserve, off reserve member, or I'm a youth turning of age, that's something we can help too. We'll support from a standpoint, not just the trust, but working with you from a standpoint of financial literacy and helping you understand the markets out there. And gee, what do I do if I want to invest in? And it's not with us. We're not an investment manager. We sit on your side of the table, but to help educate sort of what that marketplace is like and what can I do to grow and make sure this PCD potentially can help me in the future as well. We're a big part of NATOA, the National Aboriginal Trust House Association. We sit on the board with them. We're supporters of the CCAB, or Canadian Council of Aboriginal Business, and we're just regular speakers across Canada, I guess, just helping communities grow wealth, I guess, based on, the settlements for past wrongs and things like that. So we'll just get into the next slide a bit and just really, just in 30 seconds here, I'm not going to go through all these bios, but I just want to give you, we're very honored, I will say this, that we're predominantly Indigenous professionals. So there's myself, that smiley guy in the top left there, Gordon Clissold, he's from Henvey Inlet First Nation. He's a PA, he's an accountant, basically. He's got a bit of gray hair like I do. I call it Arctic blonde, sounds a little sexier, but anyway, but he's a FCPA is one of the highest recognized for accountants. And he's a member of the Henvey Inlet. He's actually a trustee in his community as well. So he sits on both sides of the table to really understand from a trustee's perspective, or from the nation standpoint, what's important. And that's really helping when, he and I will be your primary contacts on a day-to-day basis. So we bring a lot of experience, 25 years. The next slide really is, again, Kane Big Canoe. He also a CPA. He's a chartered accountant. He used to work with Deloitte prior to coming to us. He's from Chippewas, the Georgina Island First Nation in Ontario. Important from him too, he's actually on his ECDEV committee for his community. So he's not an Indigenous guy that just grew up and left his community. He's still very active on their ECDEV committee. And that brings a little bit of help too. When we're talking about trust and income coming out of the trust to do good things, economic development and things like that is is certainly one of the authorized uses of your income. Danielle Harris, she was working 7 years prior to coming up in an active dev experience with one of the communities. And more importantly, she's got a sustainability studies degree where she partners with communities that we work with to identify practices in the duty to consult and accommodate. And that's very important. We're working with investment managers to make sure that they, when they're investing, are they respecting Indigenous rights? What happens if they're investing in a company that's ruining Mother Earth? Or what happens if they're investing in a company that's disrespecting Indigenous rights? And that's all very part of our team. Everybody brings a bit different flavor to our support. And this is all that's important to you as a community, we believe, and to the trust. The next slide is David Pelche. He's a member of Serpent River First Nation. He's a lot smarter. All these guys are a lot smarter than I am, but he holds a degree in math and economics from Carleton. He's also got a civil engineering degree from Concordia University. And if you speak French, he speaks English and French. So he's a big part of our the senior analyst on the sense of part of our role is to oversee the investment managers. Investment managers are going to fire themselves. So our role is to sit on your side of the table and make sure that the performance is doing the best that it can based on the markets and things like that. Steve Belchet's one of the co-founders with myself back at Ernst & Young, an accounting firm back 25 years ago. He's a senior, he's a CFA. So again, all these initials behind their names, but he's a chartered financial analyst. So more from an investment perspective versus accounting. The next slide is, I'll take a little bit more than 30 seconds here, but finally, Vanessa Mahan. She's from Minegoziibe Cree up in Robinson Huron Treaty here in Ontario. And again, she's our senior administrative. She's kind of the cog in the wheel that keeps us all organized and make sure that that we deliver as we're supposed to. And so that's a bit of our team. Just again, moving forward a bit, just maybe now, maybe more on the process. And this might be the biggest, from the standpoint of the chief, Chief Derek kind of alluding to the fact we tell you a bit about what we do. This is really sort of what we do all in one slide. And really, from the bullet up in the top left, meeting the needs of your community vision. And again, that trust is the rules. That trust dictates how the monies are to be managed. But really, from an investment perspective, again, it's very important that we, as in support of you, understand what is our community vision. What are we trying to accomplish from an investment perspective? And that's very important. And we're going to talk in the next slide or two a bit about that, as to our engagement with you as members. You are beneficiaries of this trust. And it's very important that you have a voice too, and working with leadership to help create that vision. Because every year, how would we predict what our needs of our community are going to be in 3, 4, 5 years from now? So that's a bit of where we're going to go quickly. The investment policy, once we understand what we want to accomplish, and certainly the trust, again, is the rules, the investment policy dictates from an investment perspective how we're going to do it. And really the investment policy is a guideline for the investment managers. So we help write the roadmap, so to speak, for those investment managers to achieve the objectives of our community vision. Portfolio structure, how many managers, what kind of managers do we look like? And really that comes before the investment manager search. And I say investment manager search. We're a bit like a dating service. I kind of say that tongue in cheek because, who's going to manage this? And that's ultimately what we do. It's really understanding what we need. So if you're looking for that perfect partner, even from a trust perspective, an investment manager, what is it we're looking for in that perfect partner? And in this case, and we have a national research team that really, that's all they do. They look at the firms out there. We don't belong to any of them. We don't get anything paid to us. Our job is, again, to sit on your side of the table and look at the firms that are out there and help understand who are the most appropriate to help us achieve the objectives up in number one. Performance monitoring, managers don't fire themselves. So again, we sit on your side of the table from a trust perspective to make sure that the managers are meeting the needs and what were our expectations. And we'll talk a bit about that quickly too. And finally, kind of a catch-all, we very much are involved with communications. Communication is important. As a beneficiary, what the heck's going on, Chief? What are we doing here? Or Chief and Council, and that's, as a member, whether I'm an elder, whether I'm on reserve, off reserve, communication is so very important. Member consultation, that you as members have a voice, and we're going to be a big supporter. And Chief and Council are they're very high on that too, to ensure that there's engagement and good communication, and that's why we're having a meeting today, to bring you up to date on sort of what's going on. Financial wellness, we kind of touched on that as a minor, or even any of you as a member getting a per capita distribution. What do I do with this money right now? What can it, where do I go with this, or what do I do? And it's just, it's kind of that investment 101 kind of support, and to show you the potential and options of doing things. Now, we all will have needs today to use some of that PCD to do good things today, but gee, what if I invest some of it too? And how do I help myself down the road? So that's in a nutshell, sort of, it's a very sequential order of events of the support we provide on an ongoing basis. And I'll just, again, I'm talking too much here, but let's just go to the next slide. We'll just kind of go through a bit of this real quick here. But so this is kind of what we're talking about in the sense of the community vision. And again, all these things down the left-hand side, the land purchases, education, housing, health and wellness, infrastructure, economic development, they're all documented in your trust agreement as authorized uses of income. And it's not so much determining what they are, but how much are they? And again, from an investment perspective, can we do all this each and every year? Maybe not. Depending, it's really quantifying, not only identifying the needs in our community, but quantifying the needs. How much in dollars and cents do we need to do some of those things? And again, like a savings account, if we had a savings account, if we wanted to do this, and gee, we wanted to, my wife wanted to take me, we wanted to go on a vacation, or we wanted to do this and this, but we still got bills to pay. We have to be mindful of how much we need to do what we need to do before we can do some other things, I guess. And that's basically, in a trust perspective, a similar comparison. The next slide really talks about, and again, really our support from a standpoint of that annual disbursement. And this is right out of the trust agreement. It's a brief version of it, but each year, each following year, the trust is going to pay out this annual disbursement, which is basically about 3.5% to 4% of your trust value. So as the trust gets bigger, the more annual payment coming out to the nation to do good things. All those things we just saw on the other slide. And the trust agreement lists a lot more than what we just saw on that slide, but I can only fit so much on there. But it's really, and again, I will say, and this is a well-written trust, because I've seen this mistake in other trusts in other communities. That 3.5% to 4% a year is what studies will show is sustainable. And I know as a community, maybe we need a lot more than 3.5% or 4% of that trust value to do things today. But gee, if we started spending 5%, 6%, 7%, we would run the trust dry in a lot shorter period of time. So it's living within the sustainable withdrawal rates, that annual income, which is defined in the trust agreement, of that 3.5% plus expenses, so call it 4% or so coming out a year to do the distributions to the nation, to do all these good things, pay the expenses. But it's also about inflation too. And I think it's very important that one, we help as a community, as you as beneficiaries and leadership, we identify what we need to do potentially each year, because every year might change a bit. But this thing called inflation, it's very important that, and I've heard some discussions about the youth and about their future. And that's very important in our eyes as much as doing good things today. Because again, and I'll tell you an example, and again, my gray hair, when I graduated university, tuition was, I don't know, $800. I don't know, what is it today? $7,000, $8,000 for tuition? That's inflation. So again, down the road, 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now, we want to make sure the income coming out there is basically has the same, that the future generations, the future 7 generations can do the same things we can today in their community. If we eat it all up today, there's nothing left. And that's not fair to the future either. So it's kind of that balancing act from an investment perspective that we need to keep in mind. The next slide really talks about our role in support of leadership, is really the communication and member engagement. We kind of talked about that already, but it's some of the considerations is really engaging you as members, engaging you with leadership and creating sort of different sessions. And there's no perfect means of communication. I'm excited about this one that says audience response technology, but we could sit in that room with you right today and we could give everybody a little buzzer in your hand. We could say, okay, what do you think about this, folks? If we did this or we did this, and if all of a sudden within 2 seconds you push a button and we'd know on the screen 80% in the room agree with this or 80% disagree, or maybe it's 50-50, maybe everybody's kind of split between that decision. So communication is very important for you as members to be able to communicate your thoughts, for leadership to sort of take that information and make sort of leadership decisions based on that. It could be subcommittees, it could be surveys. Again, it's very different. If I'm an elder, if I'm a youth member, if I'm on reserve, off reserve, we all have different, I guess, desires, I guess I will say, and maybe I think everybody can agree with that. So it's very important to be able to create the roadmap for the journey ahead, to really have everybody's input the best we can. It's hard to get everybody's, and not everybody's going to agree. So that's why we have leadership, to make the most beneficial decisions for the future of the community going forward. And it could be little subcommittees, if I'm off reserve, what are you going to do for me, Chief? And that's, there's a lot of that too. So it's really understanding the use of that income, where the needs are in the community, and how we allocate that out. And really, again, that bullet down at the very bottom, we believe that information brings understanding and understanding brings comfort. If I, as a member, am engaged in some of these discussions, okay, I get it. Now I understand the challenges leadership's going through here. We can't do everything today, potentially, but we need as a membership to really understand what are the priorities tomorrow and what are the priorities for the future, and we can sort of do that balancing act. So that's a big part of our support in the sense. So you'll see us in that sense going forward. I'm talking a bit too much. The next slide, just quickly, I guess, really is the policy. So the trust is the rules, the investment policy. I'm not going to go through all these little bullets. I'm not sure if you can even see that from where you're sitting. But the policy, again, is from an investment perspective. It describes the beliefs, values, visions of our community, the purpose and use of funds, which is really guided pretty well in the trust agreement. It says the authorized use of income and capital. What return objective? We kind of hit on that already. We need at least that 3.5–4% to cover disbursements and expenses, but we also need inflation. So we don't just give the money to an investment manager and say, hey, make us some money, manager. We need to give them a return objective, and not just to meet that objective, but to beat the objective. We want them to grow it more than just annual distribution expenses and inflation. We want to do that. If we zing around a bit, you see what they call asset allocation. That's the combination of stocks and bonds. That's the strategy. That's probably the biggest dictator of what the return and risk will be in the management of these trust funds. Do we put it all in a safety of bonds? Well, I don't know. Bonds can be negative sometimes too. So it's really bonds, cash equivalents, Canadians, US, international stocks. But what combination is going to get us the kind of return that we need, but at a level of risk that we can take? I can tell you over 7 or 8 years, put it in 100% stocks. But I'll tell you, I don't want to stand in front of you if we had a year like last year where the stock market was down 30%. Although this year, it's up significantly. The stock market's up 25–30%. So
Jack, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off there because we're running a little overtime now, and I know that the information we have is very, very important. But I want to bring the conversation back to the group, and we're going to be closing off here in a little bit.
No, that's great.
But to carry forward the conversation in the future, we're hoping that you can come here, in the next few weeks to have a very similar conversation with our membership to talk about, where we're going with the settlement and how we can prioritize some of the proceeds and the spending based on community needs in the future.
Yeah.
And
No,
looking
absolutely.
forward to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, we're very honored to, our entire team's very honored to be supporting you, Chief, councillors, and to you as members. And we look forward to seeing you soon. And
Thank you very much, Jack.
okay, take care.
Have a good
Sorry to talk too much.
It's all good. It's important information. Grant, can you, is he logged off? Okay. Okay. So there's a couple of questions that came up during Jack's presentation. One was regarding how to work with the proceeds in the future from the income. And as Jack had mentioned, 3.5% of the trust can be drawn down every year. Okay. Now, what we shared with you earlier on was that 3.5% may be used to pay back a loan that we use to put more money in the trust. But if we don't, then that 3.5% can be used on other things, such as the priorities that were identified there. One question came in was, can money be put aside for university college education? Now, what we have right now in the band is we have about $600,000 or $700,000 a year that comes in through post-secondary student support funding. And we allocate all of that money and then some more on top of that to sponsor as many of our young people as we can for college, university, and trades. We would have no issue topping up, with the income to support further education for our members. Like, we have no issue with that at all. Like, we want to make sure that the priorities are identified, and education is one of the allowable expenses within that income distribution model that we put into the trust. So education can be part of that. There is also a question of whether they'll be given paperwork regarding money that's in the trust, and Jack had said we can be provided quarterly updates on the performance of the trust. And as chief and council, receiving those quarterly updates, we then share that with the community. We can do printouts, or we can share it online, to our membership as well, in terms of how good the investments are doing within that trust. So it's not secret information. This is membership information, and you have every right to that information as much as I do as the chief. So we will share that freely and openly. There's no secret with that. So that's the presentations that we wanted to share with you today. We've dealt with a number of questions that have come in through the live stream, but also, of course, here on the floor. And just want to open it up for a few more minutes. It's about 20 minutes before 3. We set aside a couple of hours this afternoon, knowing that we had a lot of material that we wanted to talk about. There's more opportunity to ask questions if you have any more questions today regarding the way forward, the pathway forward. And I ask that if you do have questions, please speak into the microphone, because the people on live stream can't hear you, even though you can be heard very well in the room here. People on live stream can't hear the comments or questions that are being raised without the microphone. So,
Can I have the mic over here? If anybody wants to ask some questions, just raise your hand and I'll come to you.
Cindy has a question.
Cindy?
I just wanted to share that a band member suggested maybe we have a car wash here in the community. So that's more of what we would like to hear from you, is what can we do here in the community? A car wash, and somebody said that we should have our own, funeral home, because passing away sadly is inevitable. So coffins that are traditionally made would be a good recommendation. So
We have a question over here.
We haven't had an audit.
We have an audit every year.
Pardon me?
The audit is done every year. So we have had audits.
Do we?
Yes.
How come we don't know about
I
it?
think it's also posted on the ISC website.
Oh, I didn't do that.
Just in terms of audits for the community, during the pandemic, nobody did their audits. So what happened was most audits across Canada were late, and I think that we were actually probably around the middle of the pack when we actually got back on track in doing the audits. So in some cases, they're up to a year or more late. But they are audits and they are posted on the Indigenous Services Canada website. Our most recent audit that ended fiscal year at the end of March of last year, they're still doing the final testing on that audit because the standards have changed. And that should be done. Like, we've been pressing them because we pay a lot to Myers Norris Penny and MNP to do our audits. We've been pressing them to get it finished because it impacts our banking relationships as well. And they're doing the final testing now, as I'm aware, because I'm in that constant conversation with our operations management to make sure that it's done. So when it's done, we will have a community meeting to talk about the last couple of years of audits and how things have changed for our community and the additional revenues that have come in because we have taken on new programs, new bid programs, including Officer Jordan's Principle, which is a multi-million-dollar annual program that we deliver right from our own community with offices in Dauphin and soon in Winnipeg. David.
Oh, yeah, my family has one question for all of you. Are you guys gonna run again? We're talking about the future here, a lot of money. Now, you guys did a lot of good work here. I know. Are you gonna run again? It's something we have to know. There's 40 million sitting there. A lot of people, a lot of reserves, they see a lot of money like this. It's a lottery. And they're gonna try to come in here and have fun. I'm wondering, Chief, councilors, is this such an adamant job to see it to this far? Are you gonna see it through?
Trying to keep the conversation not political here, Dave. You're putting us on the spot politically, but you know, just in my opinion and my personal observation, you know, I've always been one to go with what my family wants me to do. You know, when I first ran for chief against Billy Joe back in 2008, it was my aunties that told me, "You're ready to be a leader here in our community," after I graduated from law school. And I put my name in and I didn't think I would win, you know, because I've been away and all over the place, you know, as a younger man. But the community put its support behind me and I stepped up and did the best I could at that time. And when I came back in 2021, I said, I'll leave my name on the ballot this time because I've been nominated every election, but sometimes I'd let my name fall off the ballot. But I said, I'll leave it on there and I'll do the best I can for the community if that's what the community wants. I don't see these elections as competitive, and I'm not here to try and beat or defeat anybody. I just do the best I can with what the Creator's given me, and He's given me years and time to do the best work that I can do, and that's all I can commit to, you know. And I'll continue to do that into the future if that's what the Creator wants me to do. That's what I follow. I don't follow politics. I follow my way. I follow the way that I've been taught. So, if the Creator has me here next year on the ballot, that's what the Creator will have me do. Miigwech.
Chief. That's in there. Thank you for everything you guys did. But I brought in a couple of others for Addison as well. And they tell me that There's nobody else there. You see, when they do shopping in Auckland, they gotta hire somebody, $100 to take them shopping. I don't think they buy that much food. They probably pay more for the trip than they do with food. You know, we should set up something for our elders that can't get the doctor to go anywhere to go shopping once a month. I'm not gonna create a lot of trouble because we're in a me world now. But, you know, it'd be nice for chief and council to set up something to give our elders a free ride to go get groceries once a month. You guys.
We have another question.
I just wanted to make a comment with respect to Wayne's question. Oftentimes we see ourselves going into the Swan River Dauphin for groceries, and part of the plan was always that we would look and see how well we run our gas station, because our gas station doesn't just have fuel and tobacco, it also has some food items. And what we've tried to do in the last few years is try to show that the gas station is profitable. Because if it's profitable, then we can go to the bank and we can say, people are spending their money in the community, we need to build a better and bigger grocery store. So if we can do that, the bank will lend us the money to build a bigger grocery store. And we'll bring more groceries to the community so that people don't have to go to Dauphin as often. Okay, and we'll have food on the shelves here. But we have to show that the financials work, because we need to show that the community supports a local grocery store. And that's what Brendan's been working on, and Larry, our CEO of our Economic Development Corp, has been working on that as well. And Larry has experience working with co-op, you know, the establishment of stores and fuel stations in Western Canada. So we're using their experience to help us get to a point where we can say, yes, we're going to build a grocery store. But that's in the near future, I hope, because I do want to see more services here in the community like that.
That was one of the questions that I had from over here, was regarding the surveys that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that was one of the things that I put on my survey, was having a new store, but their membership is just asking what's happening with those surveys.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the content of those surveys made its way into the trust agreement to identify what are the priority spending on the trust proceeds when the money comes out every year. So local services is one of the big ones.
In the future, are they going to be reasonable prices, or are they going to be higher like we have at the Red Summers now?
We had a similar question the other day when we were meeting. The business of being in sales, retail sales, means that you have to find suppliers that are competitively priced, and then you have to pass that product to the consumer, which is our membership, at a price that covers the cost, but also a little bit of profit, so that there's money to keep the business going. So Vernon mentioned in his presentation that the essentials on the shelf are not marked up. They're just flow-throughs. So it's not our store that's making money on those items. It's the ones that are selling us the items and bringing, like, the milk and the bread and so forth. Those are just flow-throughs. Like, we're not making money on that. So the question becomes, do we have better suppliers? And maybe we do. It's a management responsibility to always be looking for the best price suppliers out there. And it's a bit of a learning process for some of our staff too.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to say to Miigwech, to Chief and Council, for all their hard work. And I also, my question is, for the investments for the cows and plows, as individual people receive their direct deposit or check, whatever, is there a place that leadership can
help us out for us to invest our funds into for the future. Like for myself, I would like to invest my dollars into something so that this way my grandchildren will have something in the future. Because the way I see it, investing with the banks, I had invested 30 grand in the bank, and when I wanted my money back, I had to pay $7,000 in taxes just to get the ones that from my own account. I worked 18 years for that. So if you have any recommendations, we'd really appreciate it. And the next question I have is, I want to sound morbid, but it's so sad that, families split apart when somebody passes away because they don't have a living will that they have signed off on who's going to look after their wishes. If we could get someone to come out to Pine Creek so people can have a chance to give people to do their living wills. That's my question. Thank you.
It's a very good question, Nancy. Both of those questions are very good because we haven't contemplated bringing out investment advisors for individuals. We focused, as you saw, that we have an investment advisor for the band, but whether they do services on an individual level, I don't know if they do or not. But it's something that we can look into for sure and see if there's somebody, because there's lots of investment advisors out there who'd be happy to come in and sit with people one-on-one. But you got to be careful that you're not making an investment where they're going to get a big chunk of your money out of it, because that happens too, eh? So we have to be careful about that. In terms of taxes on your income for your investment, because you're living on reserve, you should be able to receive that tax back at tax time, I would think. Because I don't think they can tax income for someone on reserve, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not an investment advisor, so I couldn't say for certain. Yeah. Yeah.
Taxes and not investments. For the banks, lots of banks have accounts, they don't tell you, but I was asking for my account, my investments, and my account is involved.
But when I went to Swan, they told me there that all I have to do is ask the bank manager for a tax-free something to invest. Yeah, and then now you get tax-free when you withdraw, because it's tax-free. But you just have to ask, because they don't tell you, they didn't tell me either. And I had my money there for a long time now, so that's a good way to ask.
That's what my mentor I got a question.
Everybody is talking about other stuff, but I don't hear anybody saying anything about children. Is there anything besides hockey and others? Like, not all our children play hockey. Not all our children go to these events where they can do something. There's no place for children to go. There's not even a drop-in center, nothing for kids. Like, there should be a place for children to go to, because there's so much out there that other kids can't afford to go to. Some can't even go skating because they don't have skates that I know of, but I know not all kids play these games. But there's so many kids in our reserve that they just seem to just pass them by. They don't have nothing to do. They can't do anything on the reserve. Like, they build these things here, but who looks after them all over? like, there should be a place for the children to be. Like, maybe a building where they could go to, stay out of trouble somehow. But I don't see nothing at all for children, except for the ones that play hockey or baseball or whatever, volleyball. They're the only ones that go somewhere. But the other kids, there's nothing for them.
Thank you. So yeah, you are right, there isn't much in our community. We do have Jordan's Principal here on and off reserve. Our off reserve program is doing a lot more. We are getting a building in Winnipeg where they can start doing drumming and group dancing and other activities. And on reserve, we do have our Jordan's Principal program here that does things with kids. Harley did a skate program with the kids this year, and there is free hockey equipment here and free skates and helmets for the kids. We do need to expand on this. We do have a youth center here, just out in the back. It just needs to be furnished, where they'll get free internet. They can come and lounge. There'll be pool tables in there. We're just in the process. We just recently opened this building in December, so that is coming. There is programs coming for kids. I did make a post yesterday. We do have the Northside Baby coming. It was different. We thought about it different, Shelly and I, for kids like that don't play hockey. I have a boy at home that doesn't do much, but I'm sure he will come out to this show. Like, he's more of cultural. He goes out to the Plows and stuff, like we do stuff like that as well. But like you mentioned, not all kids do this. Not all kids want to go to ceremonies or want to come in skate. So we do need to figure out other ways to get our kids included. We have a rec director now, Jalen. He's doing awesome as well. He has the MMA program going for youth. So that's happening here in the multiplex as well. Kids are welcome, adults are welcome, everybody is welcome to join in that. That's a physical activity program for everybody. Yeah, we're still learning. We're making more activities for kids in the community. Okay.
Can you track your charter bus again for hockey?
Yeah, well, we do have, like, we have employment and training van. We also have Jordan's Principal van right
I
now.
asked if they could take us this weekend and they said no.
They couldn't transport. Because I know right now Jordan's Principal is providing mileage for each kid to go. But I know there is some situations, it's almost like the other situation that can go to town. Not everybody has a vehicle and can transport their kids to and from a location. And that's the same issue that is going for Jordan's Principal off reserve as well. There's lack of transportation when not everybody.
We didn't have transport, so what would you guys do now?
We'd probably do the same thing. We'd provide mileage, and because we personally can't pick up everybody and go and drive you to hockey, but we would provide transportation and mileage for you to take your kids with you. So Cindy does have some remarks to make. I'll put that on the list.
I just have one question. Now we talk about money here. Let's say,
Dave, can oh, you're gonna. She was gonna ask about Dave's question.
Yeah, we thought about going right to the house and picking up the kids that the parents don't have any vehicles to bring them. We have 2 vans here in the community that we can very easily pick up kids. But it would be good that the parents come, because the kids always need the parents there, because anytime they do anything good, they look up and they want to see their parents there. And so, like, you know, like Anne says, we do have 2 vans here in the community. Some of the other recommendations that were received online was housing repairs. We need more here. Timmy's, tourism. And we'd like to hear more from the youth, what we need here in the community. And there's been a request by an elder if we're going to get any help for Christmas, for Easter dinner. So
As far as quick, Easter dinner, it's coming up really quick, and okay, $100 gift certificate for Easter dinner for households and families. I think we can do that. I think we can do that because it's not nothing to do with this money here that we're talking about today, but overall, I think we can because we have a little bit of inflation money left over from last year that we can use. So I think we can get gift certificates for $100 for families.
Is that on and off? Of course me, but you know what? I have a question. And I'm gonna get $25,000. Let's just say I'm so nice that I'm gonna give you $5,000 for an investment towards Pine Creek. Let's just say. Am I gonna get something in return in the future maybe? You know, like I'm saying, like one person brought up a healthcare home. I'll tell you, we're gonna go a little bit further than that. Somebody needs to take care of it all the way right to the bathroom. So we need this. There's nothing out there for us. Our people are going somewhere else. Why can't we do this? So I would surely give you $5,000 to take care of me in the future.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what I'm talking about here is investing in concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything? Like, we're gonna get money here, maybe we wanna give you a little bit of money back for all that you've done, and maybe, because we know we're gonna try to get a casino, or a car wash, ambulance, you know, maybe we'd like to invest in you.
I think that's a good question. When we look at different investments the community is making, but whether or not individuals can invest into those investments, and that's something I've raised in the past, and we're trying to work with Brenda and Larry in the Economic Development Corporation side to structure our businesses in a way that people can benefit in that way. And if they want to invest in it, then they can. We've talked about setting up a co-op for our businesses, but we're very early on and we haven't quite figured out how to do that just yet. So I'd say hold on to that money for now, but I think we will have a structure so people can invest in man businesses. But it's going to take time to build that because it's a complex process. We watch for that though. Brenda?
I've been back and working in San Marcos for a few years, and multiple times I've been asked to help to try to find money for our mental health plans. Whether that's building an assisted living home or just building them a space where they could take training like life skill training and that. So I'm trying to recommend that maybe some dollars be focused towards those individuals too. Just a couple weeks ago, there was a comment that they were not a lot of people. I just want to mention that too.
And what, Brenda, thank you. It's now after 3:00 and maybe this conversation is just starting. It doesn't have to be completed here today. It's just starting. It's going to pick up as we go along. And like I said, we're going to bring the investment advisor in. And there's lots of recommendations made today going forward. And I think we got to figure out how to implement those recommendations, especially the Easter dinner gift certificate. We have to figure that out really quickly. But I would like to be able to wrap things up if we can, and let everybody enjoy the rest of their Sunday afternoon. If it's okay. Yes? Okay. If I could ask Pius to close us off with a closing prayer, that would be very much appreciated.
Thank you everybody for coming in and listening to the Chief of Council for all what they said. They were taking us very good. We thank you for taking care of us all the time. That's why we're here. We If it wasn't for the Creator, we wouldn't be around today. It's the Creator that's taking care of everything. And our grandfathers and grandmothers, they take care of us. They're here with us right now, listening to us. In the Creator, I thank you all for attending. Thank you.
Kyle's gonna go around, he's got a list for the honorarium, so if you just wanna, he's over there.